Nothing like hearing your daughter plan your humiliation while you're elbow deep in transmission fluid at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. I was under the hood of Mrs. Patterson's ancient Chevy, trying to coax life back into her carburetor, when Mia's voice drifted through the open garage door. She was on one of those video calls kids live for these days, probably talking to her college roommate about some drama or another. "Mom's with Eric again," she said, and I could hear that particular tone she used when she thought she was being sophisticated. "She's totally going to dump Dad soon. He's so clueless, it's almost sad." I froze, wrench halfway to a bolt that suddenly didn't seem important anymore. God, I can't wait for Sierra's wedding next month. At least I'll get some good Instagram content out of this mess. Sierra. Vanessa's best friend since college, the one getting married in Vegas. The same Sierra who'd been giving me weird looks lately, like she knew something I didn't. I set the wrench down carefully, wiped my hands on the shop rag, and tried to process what I'd just heard. Vanessa with someone named Eric, planning to dump me. Our daughter treating it like entertainment. 22 years of marriage, and apparently I was the last to know it was over. Dad's probably going to lose it when he finds out, Mia continued, and I could hear her laughing. Actually laughing. But honestly, Mom deserves better than some grease monkey who peaked in high school. That stung more than it should have. Sure, I owned Patterson Auto Repair instead of working for someone else now, but Mia made it sound like I was some loser who couldn't move on from glory days. Never mind that my glory days had paid for her private school education and her fancy college tuition. I'd been an amateur boxer back in the day, good enough to win some regional titles, but not good enough to go pro. Smart enough to know when to quit and learn a real trade. Smart enough to build a business that kept us comfortable while Vanessa climbed the ladder at Morrison PR. Apparently not smart enough to see my own wife cheating on me. I walked to the doorway and looked across our driveway to the house. Vanessa's BMW wasn't in the garage. Again, she'd been working late a lot recently, or so she said. "Big client," she'd explain with that practice smile she used on difficult customers. You know how it is. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'd believed her because I wanted to, because after 22 years, you trust your partner to tell you the truth about where they spend their evenings. Mia was still on her call, sitting by her bedroom window where she probably thought no one could hear her. She was home for spring break, though she'd made it clear she'd rather be in Cancun with her friends. "I mean, it's not like they're happy anyway," she was saying. "They barely talk anymore. And Eric's got that startup money, you know? Mom could actually have some fun for once instead of pretending to care about Dad's boring car stories." I stepped back into the garage and looked around at my domain, the tools I'd collected over 15 years of business ownership, the trophies from my boxing days, gathering dust on a shelf next to motor oil and brake fluid, the framed photo of Vanessa and me on our wedding day, back when she looked at me like I was her whole world instead of an obstacle to overcome. My phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa. "Working late again? Don't wait up." I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "No problem. Love you." She didn't respond. The next morning, I was up before dawn as usual. Coffee, quick shower, and out to the garage by 6. Vanessa was already gone, her side of the bed barely disturbed. She'd come home sometime after I'd fallen asleep and left before I woke up. Our new normal, apparently. Mia wandered down around 10, still in pajamas, hair in that messy bun that somehow cost $40 at the salon. "Morning, Dad," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Any chance you could drive me to meet Taylor later? My car's making that weird noise again." "What weird noise?" "I don't know, like a grinding thing when I turn?" I sighed. "Probably needs brake pads. When's the last time you had them checked?" She shrugged. "Cars are your thing, not mine." "Right, my thing. Like everything else that kept this family running smoothly while Vanessa built her career and Mia built her social media presence." "I'll take a look at it," I said. "But first, let me ask you something. You know your mom's been working late a lot recently." Mia's eyes flicked up from her phone for just a second. "Yeah, so? Just wondering if she mentioned anything about this big client she's been dealing with." "Dad, I don't really keep track of Mom's work stuff." But her voice had that careful tone she used when she was lying. The same tone she'd used when she was 16 and claimed she'd never seen the beer cans in her closet. I nodded and turned back to my coffee. Fair enough. But I was thinking about Eric, whoever he was. And I was thinking about Sierra's wedding, and how my daughter was already planning to document my humiliation for her Instagram followers. Most of all, I was thinking about that photo on my garage shelf, and how long it had been since Vanessa looked at me the way she did in that picture. The grinding noise in Mia's car turned out to be exactly what I'd suspected. Brake pads worn down to nothing, rotors scored, the whole front end a safety hazard. I spent the morning fixing it while she sat in the waiting area, texting and occasionally sighing dramatically. All set, I told her around noon. But Mia, you can't ignore warning signs like that. Grinding brakes aren't just annoying, they're dangerous. Thanks, Dad. You're the best. She kissed my cheek and headed for the door, then stopped. Oh, I forgot to mention. Mom said she might be late again tonight, some client dinner thing. Did she say which client? I think it was something about a startup. Tech company, maybe? My stomach dropped. Eric's startup? Mia went very still. I don't know what you mean. Eric, the guy your mom's been spending time with. The color drained from her face. Dad, It's okay, I said quietly. I already know. She stood there for a moment, looking younger than her 20 years, then burst into tears. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want to be the one to tell you. I thought maybe it would just, I don't know, go away or something. I pulled her into a hug, breathing in the expensive shampoo smell of her hair, remembering when she was small enough to sit on my shoulders at the county fair. How long? I asked. A few months, I think. Maybe longer. She made me promise not to say anything. And you've met him? Once, at Mom's office Christmas party. He seemed... She pulled back and wiped her eyes. He seemed like kind of a jerk, honestly. Really full of himself. That evening, I sat in my garage with a beer, waiting for Vanessa to come home. I'd found her gym bag in the laundry room and gone through it, feeling like a criminal but unable to stop myself. Hotel keycard from the Marriott downtown, receipt for dinner for two at Chez Laurent, the fancy French place she'd always said was too expensive for just us. And tucked into the side pocket, a folded piece of paper with a phone number and Eric. Can't wait for next time, written in handwriting that wasn't hers. She came home at 11:30, looking perfectly composed except for slightly smudged lipstick. How was the client dinner? I asked. Fine, she said, not meeting my eyes. Long, but productive. Which client was it again? Morrison's thinking about taking on this tech startup. I was just doing some preliminary research. The lie came so easily, I almost admired her for it. Sounds interesting, I said. What kind of tech? Oh, app development stuff. Nothing you'd find exciting. Because I was just a grease monkey who wouldn't understand the sophisticated world of tech startups and client dinners and hotel keycards. I'm beat, she said, heading for the stairs. See you in the morning. But I was already planning what I'd see in the morning, and it wouldn't be Vanessa's carefully composed face across the breakfast table. It would be Eric's face when I knocked on his hotel room door. The Marriott downtown at 7 a.m. was not the kind of place you'd expect to find a tech entrepreneur, but then again, Eric probably wasn't there for the continental breakfast. I'd called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years, left Mia a note saying I'd be back later, and driven straight to the hotel with the keycard I'd found in Vanessa's gym bag. Room 847. I took the elevator up, walked down the carpeted hallway past the ice machine and the housekeeping cart, and stood outside the door for a full minute before I knocked. Room service, I called out, pitching my voice higher. I heard movement inside, then footsteps. The door opened, and I got my first real look at Eric. Mid-30s, expensive haircut, the kind of stubble that takes effort to maintain. Wearing a hotel bathrobe and holding a coffee cup, looking annoyed at being disturbed. I didn't order room service, he started to say, then saw my face and went very still. You must be Eric, I said. I'm Jack, Vanessa's husband. Behind him, I could hear the shower running, could hear Vanessa humming something I didn't recognize. Look, man, Eric said, trying to close the door. This isn't what you think. I put my hand on the door frame, not aggressive, just firm. Really? Because what I think is that my wife is in your shower at 7 a.m, and you're standing here in a bathrobe, so please enlighten me about what this actually is. He was younger than me, probably stronger, definitely richer based on the Rolex on his wrist, but I'd spent 15 years working with my hands, and 20 years before that learning how to read people's faces when they were scared. Eric was scared. We were just talking, he said, about business. In the shower? She's not... He stopped, realizing he was about to make it worse. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera. Smile, Eric. Hey, what are you... I snapped a picture of him in the doorway, bathrobe and all, then pushed past him into the room. The bed was unmade, 2 coffee cups on the nightstand, Vanessa's clothes folded neatly on the chair by the window. Vanessa, I called out, you might want to come out here. The humming stopped. The shower kept running. Jack? Her voice was muffled by the bathroom door, but I could hear the panic. "What are you doing here?" "Thought I'd join you for breakfast," I said. "You ordered room service, right?" Eric was standing by the window now, looking like he wanted to jump out of it. 8 floors up, so probably not the best escape plan. "This is crazy," he said. "You're being crazy." "Am I?" I took another picture, this one of the unmade bed with Vanessa's clothes in the background. Because from where I'm standing, this looks pretty straightforward. The bathroom door opened, and Vanessa appeared wrapped in a towel, her hair wet and her face pale. "Jack, please," she said. "Let me explain." "I'm listening." She looked at Eric, then back at me. "It's not what it looks like. It looks like you spent the night in a hotel room with another man while I was home fixing brake pads and believing your lies about client dinners. We didn't," she started, then stopped. "Because we all knew what they did, and we all knew I wasn't stupid enough to believe otherwise." I took a picture of her, too, standing there in her towel with guilt written all over her face. "You know what the funny part is," I said. "Mia already knows. She's been covering for you, feeling guilty about keeping your secret. Our daughter has been carrying around the weight of your affair because you made her promise not to tell me." Vanessa's face crumpled. "Jack, I never meant for me to find out?" "Yeah, I got that impression." I walked to the window and looked down at the parking lot. There was Eric's Tesla, parked in a spot marked reserved for hotel guests. Shiny and new, and probably worth more than I made in 2 years. "Nice car," I said. "Mind if I get a picture?" Eric finally found his voice. "You can't just..." "Can't what? Take pictures? Last I checked, this was still a free country." I turned back to Vanessa. "So how long has this been going on?" She wrapped the towel tighter around herself. "A few months." "How many months?" "Since January." 3 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for Mia's spring semester, Vanessa was playing house with a tech bro in downtown hotel rooms. "And you?" I looked at Eric. "What's your story? Married? Girlfriend? That's none of your business." "Actually, since you're sleeping with my wife, I think it kind of is." Vanessa stepped between us. "Jack, please don't do this." "Do what? Ask questions? Take pictures? Act like a husband who just found his wife cheating? You're embarrassing yourself." That stopped me cold. "I'm embarrassing myself?" "This doesn't have to be ugly," she said. "We can handle this like adults." I looked at her standing there, wet hair dripping on the hotel carpet, telling me not to be embarrassed about catching her in bed with another man. "You're right," I said. "Let's handle this like adults." I walked to the nightstand and picked up Eric's phone, which was charging next to the lamp. "Hey," he said, lunging for it. I held it out of reach. "What's your passcode, Eric?" "I'm not telling you that." "That's okay. I bet I can guess." I tried his birthday, which was probably somewhere on his social media. Nothing. Tried 1234. Nothing. Tried the last 4 digits of his phone number. The phone unlocked. "Seriously?" I said. "The last 4 digits of your own phone number, and you're supposed to be in tech?" I opened his photo gallery and scrolled back through the last few weeks. There they were. Pictures of him and Vanessa at restaurants I couldn't afford, at his apartment, at what looked like a weekend getaway somewhere with mountains in the background. "Wow," I said, stopping on a particularly intimate shot. "You two really documented this whole thing, didn't you?" "Give me my phone," Eric said, his voice tight. Instead, I forwarded the pictures to my own phone. All of them. "Jack, stop," Vanessa said. "You're being vindictive." "Vindictive? I haven't even started being vindictive yet." I handed Eric his phone back and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" Vanessa called after me. "To get some breakfast," I said. "All this adultery is making me hungry." I stopped in the doorway and looked back at them. Eric clutching his phone, Vanessa clutching her towel, both of them looking like they'd rather be anywhere else in the world. "Oh, and Vanessa, don't bother coming home tonight. I'll pack your things and leave them on the porch." "You can't do that," she said. "It's my house, too." "Actually, it's my house. My name on the deed, remember? You wanted to keep your credit clear for your business loans." The look on her face told me she'd forgotten that detail. "See you around, Eric," I said. "Thanks for the memories." I took the elevator down to the lobby, walked out to the parking lot, and found the Tesla. Beautiful car, really. Midnight blue with custom rims and that new car smell you could detect even from outside. I pulled out a business card from my wallet and wrote on the back, "Thanks for taking such good care of my wife. Jack Patterson, Patterson Auto Repair." I tucked it under the windshield wiper and walked to my truck. My phone was buzzing with text from Vanessa before I'd even started the engine. "Jack, please call me." We need to talk about this. Don't do anything stupid. I turned the phone off and drove home to pack my wife's belongings. It was going to be a long day, but for the first time in months, I was actually looking forward to it. After all, I'd been called vindictive. Might as well live up to the reputation. By the time I got home, Mia was up and waiting for me in the kitchen. She took one look at my face and knew exactly where I'd been. You found them, she said. I found them. She bit her lip. Are you okay? I'm fantastic, I said, and meant it. Help me pack your mother's things. We spent the morning going through 22 years of shared belongings. Her clothes, her books, her collection of marketing awards that had seemed so important when she'd won them, the framed photo from our honeymoon in Hawaii, back when she'd laughed at my jokes and held my hand during movies. Mia was quiet most of the time, but when we got to Vanessa's jewelry box, she finally spoke up. Dad, are you sure about this? Maybe you guys could work it out. Work what out? The lying, the cheating, the fact that she made you keep her secrets? I know, but what? She was holding Vanessa's engagement ring, the one I'd saved for 6 months to buy when we were both 25 and stupid enough to think love was enough. I just thought maybe she'd come to her senses, Mia said quietly. Maybe she has. Maybe Eric is her senses now. My phone had been buzzing all morning. Vanessa mostly, but also numbers I didn't recognize. Probably Eric, trying different approaches. I'd turned it back on, but hadn't answered anything. Around noon, Tommy Chen showed up at my door. Tommy owned the boxing gym where I still worked out sometimes, and he'd been my trainer back in the day when I thought I might actually make something of myself in the ring. Heard you might need someone to talk to, he said. Who told you that? Your wife called the gym, said you were having some kind of breakdown and might do something stupid. I laughed, actually laughed. She called you? Said you found out about her boyfriend and went crazy, wanted me to talk some sense into you. And what did you tell her? Tommy grinned. Told her I'd be right over to help you bury the body. We sat on my back porch with a couple of beers while Mia finished packing boxes in the house. So what's the plan? Tommy asked. No plan, just getting her stuff out of my house. That's it? What else am I supposed to do? Tommy was quiet for a moment. You remember what I used to tell you about fighting? Which part? The part about how the fight's not over until you decide it's over. I took a long drink of my beer. This isn't a boxing match, Tommy. Isn't it? Someone's been taking shots at you for months. You finally figured out who it was. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Before I could answer, a car pulled into my driveway. Vanessa's BMW, with her behind the wheel and Eric in the passenger seat. Showtime, Tommy said. They got out of the car and walked up to the porch. Vanessa had changed into her power suit, the navy blue one she wore to important meetings. Eric was wearing jeans and a polo shirt that probably cost more than most people's car payments. Jack, Vanessa said, we need to talk. No, we don't. Yes, we do. This is ridiculous. You can't just throw me out of my own house. Watch me, Eric stepped forward. Look, man, I know this is awkward, but awkward. I stood up, and Tommy stood with me. You think this is awkward? I think we're all adults here, Eric said. We should be able to handle this situation maturely. Tommy snorted. Maturely, that's rich. Who are you? Eric asked. I'm the guy who taught Jack how to hit people, Tommy said pleasantly. Eric took a step back. Vanessa shot Tommy a look, then turned back to me. Jack, please, let's go inside and discuss this privately. Discuss what? How long you've been lying to me? How you made our daughter cover for you? How you've been spending my money on hotel rooms and fancy dinners with your boyfriend? It's not like that. Then what's it like? She glanced at Eric, then back at me. It's complicated. No, I said. It's really not. You're cheating on me. I caught you. Now you're upset because there are consequences. I never meant for it to happen this way. Which way did you mean for it to happen? She didn't have an answer for that. Eric cleared his throat. Maybe we should all just take a step back here. Maybe you should shut up, I said. This doesn't concern you. Actually, it does concern me. Vanessa and I. Vanessa and you what? He looked at her again. We care about each other. How nice. You can care about each other somewhere else. Vanessa's composure finally cracked. This is my home too, Jack. You can't just kick me out because you're angry. I'm not angry, I said. I'm done. What does that mean? It means I'm filing for divorce on Monday. It means you can pick up your stuff from the porch. It means you and Eric can play house wherever you want. But it won't be here. You're being unreasonable. Am I? Let me ask you something, Vanessa. If I'd been the one having an affair, if you'd caught me in a hotel room with another woman, what would you have done? She opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. Eric was looking increasingly uncomfortable. Maybe we should go, he said to Vanessa. No, she said. This is ridiculous. Jack, I made a mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk on the way home. A mistake is double booking dinner plans. Spending 3 months fucking another man while lying to your husband and daughter is not a mistake. It's a choice. Don't talk to her like that, Eric said. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Soft hands, expensive clothes, the kind of guy who'd probably never been in a real fight in his life. Or what? You'll what, Eric? Hit me? Please. I'd love an excuse. Tommy stepped up beside me. We both would. Eric's face went red, but he didn't say anything else. Vanessa looked between all of us, then turned and walked back to her car. This isn't over, Jack, she called back. Yes, it is. She got in the BMW and slammed the door. Eric followed, looking relieved to be leaving. They backed out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. Tommy finished his beer. So what now? Now I call a lawyer. That's it? I looked at the boxes stacked on my porch, at the house I'd worked 15 years to pay for, at the life I'd built that had just crumbled in the space of a morning. For now. But even as I said it, I was thinking about the pictures on Eric's phone. About Sierra's wedding in Vegas next month, where Vanessa would probably show up with her new boyfriend and expect everyone to pretend this was all perfectly normal. About the fact that she'd called Tommy to try to manage me, like I was some kind of problem to be solved instead of a husband who'd been betrayed. Tommy was right. The fight wasn't over until I decided it was over, and I was nowhere near ready to throw in the towel. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and disappointment. Margaret Reeves had handled my business incorporation years ago, and she was the only attorney I knew who would see me on short notice. How long were you married? She asked, making notes on a yellow legal pad. 22 years. Children? One daughter, 20 years old, in college. Any prenuptial agreement? No. She looked up from her notes. That's going to complicate things. In this state, she's entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. The house, the business, retirement accounts, everything. Even if she was cheating? Adultery might affect alimony, but it won't change the property division. I'm sorry, Jack. I know that's not what you want to hear. It wasn't. I'd been hoping that catching Vanessa in bed with another man would count for something in the legal system. Apparently, I was wrong. What about the business? That's more complicated. If she contributed to its success in any way? She didn't. She has her own career. Did she ever help with bookkeeping, marketing, provide emotional support that allowed you to focus on building the business? I thought about all the times Vanessa had told people about my work, all the referrals she'd sent my way through her PR connections, all the nights she'd listened to me complain about difficult customers or equipment problems. Yeah, I said quietly. She did. Then she has a claim to part of its value. I left the lawyer's office feeling worse than when I'd arrived. 22 years of marriage, and Vanessa was going to walk away with half of everything I'd built, plus alimony, plus probably some of my future earnings from the business, all because she'd decided to upgrade to a younger model with startup money. My phone rang as I was getting into my truck. Unknown number. Patterson Auto. Jack, it's Eric. We need to talk. I almost hung up, then decided I was curious about what he had to say. Talk. Look, I know you're angry, and I get it. But this thing with Vanessa, it's real. We're not just fooling around. Congratulations. I'm trying to be straight with you here. She's going to leave you anyway. You can make this easy, or you can make it hard, but the result's going to be the same. Is that a threat? It's reality. Vanessa's not happy in her marriage. She hasn't been for years. I just happened to come along at the right time. How noble of you. I'm trying to do the right thing here. The right thing would have been not sleeping with another man's wife. That's not how these things work, and you know it. Sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes they find someone who makes them happier. I pulled out of the lawyer's parking lot and headed toward the gym. I needed to hit something. You done? I asked. I'm just saying, if you really care about Vanessa, you'll let her go without making this ugly. And if I don't, then things might get complicated for you. Now that was definitely a threat. Eric. Yeah? Go fuck yourself. I hung up and called Tommy. You busy? Never too busy for you. What's up? Feel like holding some pads? Bad news from the lawyer? The worst. I'll meet you at the gym. An hour later, I was sweating through my third round on the heavy bag when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Sierra. We need to talk about the wedding. Sierra. Vanessa's best friend, the one getting married in Vegas next month, the one whose wedding was supposed to be such great Instagram content for Mia. I texted back, "What about it? Can you call me? This is important." I looked at Tommy, who was wrapping up his hands for his own workout. "I'll be right back," I said, and stepped outside to make the call. "Jack, thank God," Sierra said when she answered. "I just heard about what happened. News travels fast. Vanessa called me this morning. She's a mess. I bet she is. Look, I know you're hurt, and you have every right to be, but I need to ask you something. Ask away. Are you planning to come to the wedding?" I hadn't even thought about it. The wedding was still 3 weeks away, and I'd assumed that by then, Vanessa and I would have worked out some kind of arrangement where we could be civil for one weekend. Now I wasn't so sure. Why? Because if you are, I need to know, and if you're planning to make some kind of scene, what kind of scene would I make? I don't know, but Vanessa said you were pretty angry when you found them together. Vanessa said that? She's worried about what you might do. I thought about that. Vanessa was worried about what I might do. Not sorry for what she'd done, not guilty about lying to me for months, not concerned about how her affair might affect our daughter. Worried about what I might do. "Sierra, let me ask you something. How long have you known?" Silence. "Sierra? Known what?" "About Vanessa and Eric." More silence. "You did know, didn't you?" "Jack, I don't think... You knew my wife was having an affair, and you didn't tell me. It wasn't my place." "Wasn't your place? You've been to my house for dinner probably 50 times in the last 5 years. You've sat at my table, drunk my beer, laughed at my jokes, and the whole time you knew my wife was cheating on me. It's complicated. Everyone keeps saying that. It's not complicated. It's simple. My wife was fucking another man, and all of her friends knew about it except me." "Jack, let me make this simple for you too, Sierra. I'll come to your wedding. I'll smile for the pictures. I'll give a nice toast about love and commitment and all that bullshit. And then I'll go home and file for divorce. You don't have to be cruel about it." "Cruel? You think I'm being cruel? I think you're hurt, and you're lashing out at people who care about you. If you cared about me, you would have told me the truth." I hung up and went back into the gym. Tommy took one look at my face and pointed to the heavy bag. "Again?" "Again." But this time, I wasn't just thinking about Vanessa and Eric. I was thinking about all the people who'd known and said nothing. Sierra, probably half of Vanessa's coworkers, maybe some of our mutual friends, all of them watching me play the fool while my wife built a new life behind my back. The bag felt good under my fists. Really good. When I got home that evening, Mia was waiting for me with a worried expression. "Sierra called," she said. "I figured." "She said you were really angry with her." "I am?" "Dad, she was just trying to be a good friend to Mom." "What about being a good friend to me?" Mia didn't have an answer for that. "Besides," I said, "I thought you'd be happy. Now you'll have even better Instagram content at the wedding. Divorced parents, family drama, all that good stuff." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? Isn't that what you said? That you couldn't wait for good Instagram content?" Her face went red. "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it?" "I don't know. I was just talking." "Well, congratulations. You'll have plenty to talk about now." I went upstairs to shower, leaving Mia standing in the kitchen looking like she wanted to cry. I felt bad about snapping at her, but I was tired of being the only one who seemed to think the situation was actually serious. Everyone else was treating it like some kind of soap opera, like my marriage ending was just entertainment for their social media feeds. Under the hot water, I made a decision. If they wanted drama, I'd give them drama. If they wanted Instagram content, I'd make sure they got plenty. And if Vanessa was worried about what I might do, well, she was about to find out she was right to worry. The wedding was still 3 weeks away. That gave me plenty of time to plan something really memorable, something that would give everyone exactly the kind of content they were looking for. The Bellagio in Las Vegas was everything I'd expected, marble and gold and the kind of ostentatious wealth that made my auto repair shop look like a lemonade stand. Sierra had spared no expense for her wedding weekend, and the guest list read like a who's who of Vanessa's professional and social circles. I'd driven out alone, leaving Mia to fly in with her mother and Eric. The 8-hour drive had given me plenty of time to think about what I was going to do, and by the time I checked into my room, I was calm and focused in a way I hadn't been since this whole mess started. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night in one of the hotel's private dining rooms. I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit and carrying a gift bag that had cost me more than I usually spent on Christmas presents. Vanessa was sitting at a table near the front with Eric, both of them looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. She'd lost weight since I'd last seen her, and there were dark circles under her eyes that her makeup couldn't quite hide. Eric, on the other hand, looked like he was trying too hard to appear comfortable. Designer suit, expensive watch, the kind of forced smile that said he knew he didn't belong, but was determined to fake it until he made it. "Jack!" Sierra appeared at my elbow, looking stunning in a cocktail dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. "I'm so glad you came." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, kissing her cheek. "You look beautiful." "Thank you. Listen, I wanted to apologize for our phone conversation. I know you're going through a difficult time." "Water under the bridge," I said. "This is your weekend. I'm just here to celebrate." She looked relieved. "I'm so glad to hear that. David and I were worried." "About what? That I'd make a scene?" "Come on, Sierra. You've known me for 15 years. When have I ever made a scene?" "Never," she admitted. "I guess I was just listening to Vanessa's paranoia." Sierra's smile faltered slightly. "She's been under a lot of stress." "I bet she has." I made my way around the room, shaking hands and making small talk with people I'd known for years. Most of them seemed surprised to see me, and more than a few looked uncomfortable when I approached their tables. Word had gotten around, apparently. "Jack," said Dave Morrison, Vanessa's boss. "Good to see you." "You too, Dave. How's business?" "Can't complain. You know how it is." But his eyes kept flicking over to where Vanessa was sitting with Eric, and I could tell he was wondering what I was really doing there. I worked the room for an hour, being charming and gracious, and giving no indication that anything was wrong. By the time Sierra's father stood up to give the traditional father of the bride speech, most people had relaxed. That's when I made my move. "Excuse me," I said, standing up and tapping my water glass with a fork. "Before we hear from Sierra's father, I'd like to say something." Sierra looked panicked. "Jack, that's really not—" "Don't worry," I said with a smile. "It's nothing dramatic. I just want to talk about marriage." The room went quiet. Vanessa had gone pale, and Eric looked like he was considering making a run for the exit. "I've been married for 22 years, I began, so I've learned a few things about what makes a relationship work. The most important thing, I think, is honesty." A few people nodded. Someone said, "Hear, hear." "Honesty between partners," I continued. "Honesty with your friends and family. Honesty about who you are and what you want out of life." I looked directly at Vanessa. Because when you're not honest, when you start keeping secrets and telling lies, that's when things fall apart. "Jack," Vanessa said quietly, but I kept going. "For example, if you're unhappy in your marriage, the honest thing to do is to talk to your spouse about it. Work on the problems together. Maybe go to counseling. Maybe find a way to reconnect." I paused to take a sip of water. The dishonest thing to do is to start sleeping with someone else while pretending everything is fine at home. The room was dead silent now. Someone dropped a fork, and it sounded like a gunshot. "But here's the thing about dishonesty," I said. "It's like a cancer. It spreads. Pretty soon, you're not just lying to your spouse. You're lying to your friends, your family, your children. You're asking other people to lie for you." I looked at Sierra. "You're putting people in impossible positions, making them choose between loyalty to you and loyalty to the truth." "Jack, please," Sierra whispered. "And the really sad part is that all those lies, all that deception, it's usually for nothing, because the truth has a way of coming out anyway." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. "For instance, I have some photos here that I think illustrate my point perfectly." Vanessa stood up so fast her chair fell over. "Don't." "Don't what? Share pictures from your romantic getaway with Eric? The one you took last month while I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for our daughter's tuition?" Eric finally found his voice. "You son of a bitch." Now, I said. "We're in mixed company." I held up the phone so the people at the nearest tables could see the screen. There was Vanessa in a bikini, laughing as Eric sprayed her with champagne on what looked like a very expensive boat. "This was taken 3 weeks ago," I said conversationally. "Well, I thought my wife was at a work conference in Chicago." "Jack, stop this," Vanessa said, her voice breaking. "Stop what? Telling the truth? I thought we'd established that honesty was important in relationships." I swiped to the next photo. This one showed Eric and Vanessa in what was clearly a hotel bed, both of them naked from the waist up, looking very much like people who just finished having sex. Several people gasped. Someone's elderly aunt made a shocked noise and reached for her purse. "You're sick," Eric said, standing up. "This is sick. What's sick is fucking another man's wife for 3 months and then having the balls to show up at a wedding with her." "That's enough," Sierra's father said, moving toward me. "I think you should leave." "In a minute," I said. I just want to finish my toast. I put the phone away and raised my water glass. Here's to Sierra and David, I said. May your marriage be built on honesty, trust, and respect. May you never have to wonder where your spouse is spending their nights or who they're spending them with. And may you never have to find out that half the people in this room knew your marriage was over before you did. I drained the glass and set it down. Oh, and Vanessa? Your divorce papers will be waiting for you when you get home. I had them delivered this afternoon. I walked toward the door, but before I left, I turned back one more time. By the way, Eric, you might want to get tested. Vanessa's always been a little careless about protection. That was a lie, but the look on his face made it worth it. I walked out of the dining room, through the casino, and out into the Nevada night. My phone was buzzing with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. Instead, I got in my truck and started the long drive home. Behind me, I could hear the sound of raised voices and breaking glass. Sierra's perfect wedding weekend was officially ruined. Vanessa's reputation was in tatters, and Eric was probably wondering what other surprises I might have in store. It wasn't the most mature thing I'd ever done. It wasn't the most dignified response to betrayal, but it felt absolutely perfect. For the first time in months, I was smiling as I drove through the desert darkness toward home. Let them clean up the mess. Let them explain to their friends and family what had just happened. Let them deal with the consequences of their choices. I was done being the victim in this story. From now on, I was the one writing the ending, and I was just getting started. The highway stretched out ahead of me, empty and full of possibilities. In my rearview mirror, Las Vegas disappeared into the distance, taking with it the last remnants of my old life. Whatever came next, it would be on my terms. For the first time in 22 years, I was completely free, and it felt incredible. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching,